This is CityCast Twin Cities. I'm Sean McPherson, and here's what the cities are talking about. Hans, if you could only eat food from one street in the Twin Cities, what street would you choose?
Central in Minneapolis.
Respectable, commendable answer. Tiffany, if you could only eat food on one street in the Twin Cities, what would it be?
Easy. Eat Street.
Nicolette. All right. Okay. These are great answers. And they're great people. That's our contributor, Hans Buetow, and our producer, Tiffany Bowie. Today on CityCast Twin Cities, we'll find out about Waymo coming to the Twin Cities. We also have a certified spicy medical meatball at the University of Minnesota. And we'll celebrate some Twin Cities wins as we head into the weekend. Are y'all laughing at my meatball?
Teasing something as a spicy medical meatball leaves a lot to the imagination. But you know what? That's probably perfect. I say let's hold that topic and let people stew on that meatball.
Hans, how many phone numbers do you have memorized at this point in your life?
Oh, I have my childhood friend's phone number memorized.
Aww.
My dad's phone number, my wife's phone number, end of list.
Oh, wow.
Tiffany?
2, mine and my mom's. But hers is not even in function anymore because she's out of the country.
As we were talking about Waymo coming, I realized I took taxis all the time in my 20s, and I still remembered 612-332-1615. Got to get home from the bar, you got to call Rainbow. And I mean, I asked a dispatcher at Rainbow out on a date once. She said no, but I did ask her. This was part of how I got home from bars, but things are changing wildly, right? There is that time where Uber and Lyft comes in and suddenly you're getting your rides home on your phone. And now you might even have an autonomous driver, or an autonomous car, I guess I should say, take you home. Waymo, the leading company in driverless ride sharing, is expanding to Minneapolis. Tiffany is on the robot overlord beat here at CityCast Twin Cities. Tiffany, what are you hearing about this?
Hello, Sean. Would you like to go to the basement bar in North Loop? Obviously not. Obviously not. What are we on, Love is Blind? Waymo is coming to Minneapolis. They started specifically testing on our streets yesterday on Thursday. If you're really hoping to ride in a truly driverless car, you're going to have to wait a while because no date has been set yet for them offering rides to passengers. At this point, they're just like driving around with human drivers at the helm, mapping the streets, collecting data. So according to Tim Harlow from the Star Tribune, it might be several months before you can hail a ride to or from Basement Bar. Nowhere else, just the Basement Bar. Sean, I feel like I know your answer, but I still want to ask you too. Would you ride in an autonomous taxi?
I will say no, and then one day it's going to be the only option available, and I will quickly say yes to get where I need to.
Yeah.
You as well, Hans?
Well, I mean, I'm the sort of person I don't even do self-checkout. I always go to the checkout that's assisted with a person. Absolutely.
Same here.
100% of the time.
Why?
It's a job. It preserves a job. I get to interact with somebody. It feels like customer service. There's just a million reasons for it.
Oh, interesting. So do you guys talk to your drivers when you're in an Uber or Lyft?
Yeah. Not always, but yeah.
Wow. I have so many questions, but we're going to get off topic. I know, Sean, you don't want to ride in them because then you can't ask anybody out in the car.
Yes, I'm a real problematic guest. I'm going to end up asking a robot out if this keeps going this route.
I want to point out that we're saying autonomous cars and not driverless, even though that's how Waymo is often advertised as a truly driverless car, because right now, Minnesota law is that there needs to be a human driver present and ready to take over if anything happens. So just think about this few months down the line. In compliance with Minnesota law, you hop into a Waymo. Oh. There is another person in the passenger seat going, hello.
Hi. Just sitting there with you.
Just sitting there. And then I have to talk to them. I thought the whole point with driverless cars is I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't like to talk. So this is America.
but that's confusing. Why would you do that? Why would you come here if that was the situation? That feels like you're not saving the money by not having a driver. You're are they preparing for the future? What's the reason for coming to Minnesota if that's the case?
They did say they liked Minneapolis because of its urban density, but it really seems like they're hoping some lobbyists will change the law. Like they're really hoping to come here and perhaps change the law. That is my guess. I've reached out to Waymo to ask them like how they envision this will work. We're just waiting to hear back. But according to reporting from our friends over at Axios Twin Cities, from Tori Van Oot, Waymo recently hired 4 lobbyists to work on changing the laws in Minnesota, and politicians are sort of preparing for it now. Tim Walz formed an advisory council to come up with policy recommendations. However, Minneapolis council member Jason Chavez said he would support a local law that would actually still require drivers in autonomous vehicles in Minneapolis, regardless of what state law says. And that matters because there are no Waymos planned for St. Paul at this time. I'm sorry, St. Paul, your intersections are too hard and confusing and big. And there's
and cool.
And cool and potholed.
That's true.
This is Jason Chavez's suggestion is the worst of both worlds in my view. I could see the idea of going, let's keep these out of here. And I want to ask about that. But the idea of going, we need to create a job where someone sits in this car and is mandated to have the worst situation for small talk possible. Yeah. I literally think if I ordered one of these and it drove by and there's just a guy like, hey, it's Ted, get in and we'll both sit here together, I would just go, I think I'd rather, ride a unicycle to wherever I have to go. I really hope that particular nuance of we're going to have somebody sit in the car, even if the technology doesn't require it. I hope that does not last. But here's a bigger question for me, Tiffany. Do we want these? Is this something Minnesota is eager about, or is Waymo coming here without any enthusiasm from the local population?
Yeah, I'm interested in how many people would want to drive in a Waymo, because I feel like that same contingent is the contingent that would rather take Uber and Lyft rather than public transit home, right? And it's just it's a newfangled way to do it, because Waymo is saying you have a driver that won't be distracted. You have a driver that won't be drunk, that are under any kind of intoxicants. It'll be the safest experience. However, Minneapolis City Council member Katie Cashman had a really good point where she was like, if you want a driverless car, just take public transit.
Yeah.
We already have that. And she's worried about how that is going to affect transit ridership at a time where they're really trying to make a comeback after the pandemic. I also expect, given our history of labor organizing around rideshare driving, that we're going to face some resistance from labor unions and rideshare drivers in Minnesota. I doubt that a person sitting in the passenger seat of a Waymo will be part of any such union, as they are not driving. So it's probably gearing up to be another big fight like Uber and Lyft and we've seen in the cities here.
I would rather be in an accident with a human being. And I struggle. I expect robots to be perfect in a way that I don't think Waymo is perfect now and can be perfect in the future. And I give a level of grace to an Uber driver who's taking a route I disagree with. I give a level of grace to a Lyft driver who's driving slightly slower or faster than I would want. And I don't think I could give grace to a robot. I think I'm a very human touch person, similar to Hans. I try to seek out those opportunities to engage with people and to talk with people. And I'm nervous about this technology just removing a group of people. I guess they aren't employees because they're, contractors, but folks who drive for Uber and Lyft. That's a big population of folks who are bringing in the dough for their families doing that. Hot take, I'm nervous about robots driving us around. I don't think that's a good look.
Tiffany, do you have any sense of how safe this is? I know that they have a lot of different cities that they operate in. And I also remember the early days of the rideshare stuff. It was weird that you would just get into a random person's car. You could be a young person, or, you could be anybody just getting into anybody else's car, and then they drive you somewhere is a wild thing that we've normalized. So maybe we'd get used to it, but does it offer more safety because there eventually might not be someone else in the car for sexual assault or any other harassment issues that might arise? Or is there anything about is a robot driver a safer driver?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. So Waymo that's sort of one of their talking points, is that it is safer. According to the University of Central Florida, they found that autonomous vehicles generally result in less crashes than human drivers overall, but there are more crashes at dawn and dusk.
Isn't there famously the Waymo cars can't see black people as well, especially at dawn and dusk?
I have heard that. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's something they've fixed. What the Star Tribune reported is that compared to the human driver, the driverless cars were involved in 304 fewer injury crashes and 35 fewer pedestrian crashes with injuries. On average, about half of crashes in a Waymo car result in minor damage. I am very curious about their technology in recognizing people of color, specifically Black people, as people that you should not hit.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room, the snow-covered elephant in the room, is how they're going to do in the snow. And what they've sort of said, what they said to Axios, was that they have made great strides with testing snow driving in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, as well as upstate New York. However, I like to think that Minnesota snow is unique and particularly difficult. So I reached out and asked them like what exactly they learned from testing the cars there. And then Axios Twin Cities reported in April that according to University of Minnesota mechanical engineering professor who's been researching autonomous vehicles for a while, their cameras can struggle to detect lane markers when they're covered in snow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Waymo uses LIDAR and radar sensors, which can detect boundaries even when there's snow. However, those sensors require engineers to label street signs. Imagine labeling every street sign for a Waymo car. So I'm interested in seeing if they've made any improvement with that. But I guess you'll have somebody sitting in the passenger seat who can, I assume, dive into the driver's seat and take over. I'm assuming they're sitting in the passenger seat. Maybe they're just sitting in the driver's seat and not driving.
Yeah. They're behind the wheel, just not touching it.
Yeah, they're just hanging out, turning around, talking to you,
I hate the future. I want my sody pop. I want to go back when humans drove cars, Tiffany. I am curious what you think. And when I'm talking about you, I'm talking about you out there listening. Do you want to be in a robot car? Do you want to be in an Uber? Do you want to be in a Lyft? Do you want to have more people taking the bus? Send us a text. Leave us a voicemail, 612-217-0637. Your comments might end up in a future episode. There's more news to discuss, including a spicy medical meatball. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. There's a whole section of stories I've always skipped in the newspaper. And one of those sections was kind of like rich doctor disputes. They're moving hospitals. They're switching this. Who are they negotiating with? Because I always sort of thought, what do I care? I'm not a doctor. Nobody in my immediate family is a doctor. But now there is a level of tension and a level of concern for the future of medical care in Minnesota that means that you really have to look at this doctor stuff that you or I might have ignored in the past. There's big employers and there's big institutions. And there's this partnership at the center of it between the University of Minnesota and Fairview. And to say it's deteriorating is a disservice to the fact that it's been deteriorating for a long time. They got started together in 1997, and there's been tension almost since day one. But now the University of Minnesota is sending out multiple pink slips and cleaning house as this relationship between Fairview and the University of Minnesota goes south. Hans, what happened?
So many things happened. This is many players, many moments, but this is basically all about the fate of M Health Fairview. So this is, it's a staple. It's a big name in the Twin Cities healthcare arena, which has been historically a partnership between two of the players in this tale. The U of M, obviously with the big M that's on the M Health Fairview, and Fairview Health Services, the Fairview part of it, right? So they own the nonprofit teaching hospital that's in Minneapolis. They do a lot of the care around. And that partnership was slated to end at the end of 2026 unless they could come to some sort of agreement to bring it forward into the future. And so they've been working on it. And they've been, like you said, Sean, not getting along super well. Last week, a 10-year deal was struck. That includes physician training. It includes funding for the university's academic health program, care to more than 1 million Minnesotans. But here's the thing. It was not between the U of M and Fairview, as you might expect. It was between Fairview and the University of Minnesota physicians called the UMP, which is a designated practice for the U of M Medical School. It's independent. It employs U of M faculty, and they do research, and it's core to within the health systems. And they were the ones who did the negotiations and came to this deal without the regents from the university. So the university, hours before this agreement was supposed to come out last Wednesday, the regents, the university came in swinging and said, this is a hostile takeover, quote unquote, hostile takeover. Told them to stop negotiating. They didn't stop negotiating. They came through with a $1 billion deal between Fairview Health Services and the UMP, which now the university is calling unlawful because they weren't supposed to negotiate with each other. The negotiator of this was the mHealth physician interim CEO, a man named Dr. Greg Bellman, who started this negotiation at the request of Attorney General Keith Ellison, who wanted this to happen, but was seeing things deteriorate. And now Ellison's quite happy with the fact that this has happened. The university is not happy, but it seems like this is a deal that's going forward.
As a former university reporter, I love university administration drama. The drama takes 10 years to explain. You don't know why people are mad, but maybe your professor will tell you in a class when they have a gripe to talk about. It doesn't make sense, but it's so funny. I know there are real consequences, but I find it very interesting and funny. I'm kind of curious, like, what is so particularly contentious about this deal, though? Because Dr. Greg Bellman, the architect of the deal on the UMP side, who did just get fired, said that it's pretty similar to the 250 other deals that the UMP has reached with other providers. So what's the beef?
The beef is really about it not being transparent or not involving all of the parties who are going to be affected by it. The U of M is saying that this is going to affect the healthcare of all Minnesotans. It's the fact that it happened behind closed doors. Most of the money in this is, it should be said, contingent upon Fairview and the UMP hitting certain targets for efficient operations in this. That's per the Star Tribune. And it might be that the university fears they don't have the funding that they need, that they're not going to get what they need out of this to make it move forward. If the UMP doesn't hit the goals without the U's input, they might not. And so the new money also goes straight from Fairview to UMP, skipping over the U. And so the U is a little bit frustrated with it being cut out. So right now, 2/3 of that money goes to the U. That would stop and change. And I think from my part, the part that I don't quite understand about this, that I'm not sure if either of you know, is how the UMP is authorized to negotiate in the middle of this deal that seems to be between the U and Fairview.
Dr. Greg Bellman stated that it's in the charter of the UMP to be able to negotiate with these providers. I think that's why if the U had the power to stop them from negotiating, the U would have done that, right? As opposed to going, this is a hostile takeover, please stop, and they don't stop.
Yeah, that's right.
So the UMP is empowered to do this, but now the U is saying that it's unlawful that you did it. I do think that has to get hashed out because if they reached a deal, they were legally able to reach a deal. They were, in the bylaws able to reach the deal. But now the University of Minnesota Regents, they wouldn't just be firing people left and right if they thought there was a recourse to undo the deal. They're very frustrated with the people who made the deal, I think, because of the fundamentals of the deal, I should say.
So what you're saying here, Sean, is the other wrinkle that has just happened, which is that Dr. Bellman, who negotiated this, has now been fired from his role in UMP by the regents. So he's going to stay on in all of his teaching and care capacities, but he's no longer going to be in this position to be able to lead the UMP. And so that's a big casualty that's happening from this as the U tries to navigate what can they do about this.
And this ain't the only person they fired, right? They let go a couple other people in the C-suite.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. They removed William Seibert, who's the CFO for UMP, from his parallel role as the medical school CFO. The U of M also ended its contract with Lathrop GPM. And so that's the law firm that provided the counsel for UMP to enter into this.
Oh, they're clearing house.
Clearing house.
I think from this is a very general statement, but just from what I noticed as a student there and reporting on the U, is they're involved in so much when you really look at it in terms of land acquisition, but also big partnerships like this. And the regents really like to be like in control of that. I think especially as like they're keeping an eye on what makes the U money, sports. Medical school, land.
Yep.
I can see how they're feeling very much like they're being cut out of a big portion of funding. funding, by the way, for a very important job, which is the university's medical school, trains about 70% of all doctors practicing across Minnesota. That's crazy. These doctors just never left. Do you think we're going to get a doctor shortage because of this beef?
I don't think there's a real strong answer to that from this. It seems like everybody will be able to continue functioning. It feels like maybe the U's a little ruffled. But as soon as you start getting firings in the C-suite and you start getting folks at that level upset, I don't imagine this is the last we're going to hear of it. And I don't imagine that this is yet resolved. I don't think we've kind of done and dusted this thing. I think there's probably more to come. So TBD.
Spectacular use of done and dusted. I am yanking that turn of phrase for my own use. Attorney General Keith Ellison says this is good news for Minnesota. The Regents for University of Minnesota says this is bad news. Are either of you apt to trust one group over the other? Do you trust Attorney General Keith Ellison over the Regents? Or is it just two different parties saying two different things about what this means for Minnesota?
I honestly have no idea. I am curious, though, if this is going to increase tuition for University of Minnesota medical students, which I think is pretty high.
And it might also just suffer recruitment, right? People might go, I'm going to go to a medical school that's not a hot mess. I'm going to go to school in Wisconsin. I'm going to go to school in North Dakota. And suddenly we have less medical students. And then suddenly or later we have less doctors. So yeah, I am nervous about the impacts on the bottom line. And Tiffany, I didn't have an answer to this. I don't know who to trust between Keith Ellison and the U. I just think the Attorney General is very nervous about medical operations needed in 2027, and maybe the U is ready to play a little more roulette and see, let's see what we can get. And I think the Attorney General goes, let's make sure we still have hospitals. And we don't know exactly where this will land. I want to celebrate some wins as we hit the tail end of the week. Of course, a big win for Minnesota is Give to the Max, which was yesterday, and things went really well, and we congratulate all the nonprofits that benefited from Give to the Max. But I want to highlight a couple more wins for Minnesota with Hans and Tiffany. My win is Pick to Click 2025, and it's frankly just a triumph that this thing exists. It got started in the city pages by Jim Walsh in the 1990s, and for almost every year they've been cataloging great new bands that show up on the scene, and now it's done by Racket. I tip my hat to Keith Harris, who does all the spreadsheet work behind the scenes, and I also tip my hat to our music scene for creating artists who were barely a blip 1 year ago, who now are out on the road and have management and things are going for them. The winner this year is Porchlight. Their tune Oxygen is a must listen. So check out the tune Oxygen. And I also want to give a big shout out to Obi Original, who was the DJ for our launch party at Berlin a few weeks ago and landed at the number 7 slot. So congratulations to all the artists who got picked to click, and congratulations to Racket for keeping this great Minnesota tradition alive. Tiffany, what's your win for the week?
My win for the week is that Minnesota is launching a very ambitious marijuana expungement program, which means Minnesota is working on automatically expunging felony cases regarding to marijuana charges from people's records. The BCA has already cleared actually 57,000 low-level marijuana records. And this is really the first of its kind because it basically does not require you as somebody with this on your record to go to the government and ask for it to be cleared. There's no petitions, no fees, no court filings, which means it's Minnesota's responsibility to go through all of these records, thousands and thousands of them, and see if they should be cleared or they should be resentenced or not. This makes it easier for so many people to get jobs, to get loans, to get housing, to go to school. And it's really an effort to repair past harms from the war on drugs and especially the racial inequities of that, and reduce barriers for people to return to a normal civic life for something that really isn't that big of an issue.
Let's move from weed to volleyball, Hans. Set, Spike, what's your win?
I want to slam dunk it? No, that's not it. My coolest news, I have now got more reasons to go to a bar of their own and sit amongst my fellow Twin Cityans and cheer on professional women's sports in Minnesota, following on the heels of the Minnesota Frost Hockey, Twin Cities Gemini, who are the new rugby team that we have. We have just been announced to have a new professional women's volleyball team. This is the Minnesota Sports and Entertainment Group, which is the parent company for the Minnesota Wild, owned by Craig Leopold. They announced, gracious, in Grand Casino Arena in downtown St. Paul in 2027, you're going to be able to go see professional women's volleyball. The MLV, the Major League Volleyball, has 8 franchises currently, and so it's really exciting to see them go up. But here's where the cool news gets weird. Announced almost in parallel to this is that there's a second, different professional volleyball team in a different professional league called the League One volleyball team that was just launched in 2025 that is also coming to Minnesota. We are going to have 2 different professional volleyball teams in 2027. Get ready, y'all. We have a high. We rank 4th apparently nationally in participation in volleyball in high school with the state championships. They draw like all sorts of people come out to see them. So like maybe we can support them. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's support 2 pro women's volleyball teams, everybody. We can do this. Together we can do this.
Hans, did we go from not nearly enough women's volleyball teams to way too many? just
200%.
Miss the Goldilocks sweet spot. But yeah, let's do what we can. And if it involves drinking at a bar and watching volleyball, I will do what I can to support this mission.
Right? There's more than one screen at a bar.
That's right. All right. What is your favorite of the 2 professional volleyball teams that are coming to Minnesota? Give us a call and let us know. 612-217-0637. You might hear your comments in one of our upcoming episodes. We still got to open the mailbag, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. All right, we're going to flip open the mailbag because we got some awesome notes from a couple of our call-outs across this week. Got a nice note from John, who was chiming in to share some Ethiopian cuisine recommendations, especially because I've been lost in the world of Ethiopian food since Fasika closed. And John called out Bole Ethiopian cuisine near Como Park. Hans, that's your part of town. Have you been to Bole?
I can walk to Bole, and their patio is special. It's real good.
And there's a particular dish that John recommended, the crispy kitfo, which is unique to them. So John, thank you for listening and thank you for the recommendation. Also, yesterday was Give to the Max Day, and Rachel sent us an email saying she's trying to raise awareness for the nonprofit known as Eastside Learning Center and shouting out the amazing volunteers that go into schools, tutor children online, and help with reading in general. And they're always seeking donations, partners, and volunteers. The website, which will also be in the show notes, is eastsidelearningcenter.org. And the love for different nonprofits keeps on coming.
And then we have Robin, who wrote in to say, you should do a shout out for my favorite nonprofit, Bike Minnesota. They do adult learn to ride lessons, biking safety lessons, and a bunch of amazing advocacy work for less car dependence, i.e. Waymo. Robin actually got to go to one of their learn to ride lessons. Congrats, Robin. I also learned to ride a bike very late in my life. I'm not going to say when. It was embarrassingly late, but not embarrassing for you, Robin, because good for you. It's completely free, and they hooked Robin up with their own bike that they got to take home. That's really cool.
Yeah, and in other places to throw your money because they do awesome work. E wrote into us suggesting that you should give to the Minnesota Center for Book Arts. Thank you, E, for that suggestion because, yeah, that's a great one.
Hans, we've also been getting really roasted for our top 5 movie theaters, which has been pleasant because people agree with our picks, but we are just lousy with options for great movie theaters. And a big oversight to not give a shout out to an institution in the world of movies in Uptown. We got a nice voicemail from Anthony, and we're going to listen to that now.
Hey, my name is Anthony Strand, and I'm really enjoying the podcast so far. I just listened to your top 5 movie theaters. Great discussion. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Not here to yell at you, but I was surprised to hear no mention of the Lagoon, which to me is one of the great theaters in the Twin Cities. A lot like the Main, they're always doing interesting stuff, so the Lagoon. That's my recommendation. To add to the top movie theater list, agree that the Trilon is number 1. I'm wearing the stocking cap right now. Thank you.
Incredible.
Can I share a secret about the Lagoon?
Please.
Yes.
I was going to make a social media video about this, but you guys get to hear it first, which is the Lagoon in Uptown does secret movie screenings 1 day a month where you get to see an advanced screening of a movie that's not out for national release yet.
Whoa.
You don't exactly know what day it is until you follow them on their Instagram or their social media where they'll like tease the date. And you literally just go into the movie theater, you sit down, and you don't know what's playing until it starts playing. I saw one a few weeks ago. I got to see Eternity, the new A24 movie featuring one of the Olsen sisters, Elizabeth Olsen. She is the younger sister of the twins. I did not know this. Anyway, she stars in Eternity. It was a fantastic movie and I cried and I didn't even know what I was walking into. And I got to walk away with this like beautiful experience that I might not have gone to seek out myself otherwise.
That's cool.
Can we also give Anthony a congratulations for being the first person in human history to say, I'm not going to yell at you and then not yell at you? Because usually if somebody at the bar is like, I'm not going to yell at you, they are about to yell at you. And Anthony's like, I'm not going to yell at you. The Lagoon, you dumb shit. So I appreciate Anthony's candor in that situation and his recommendation. And Tiffany, your addendum about the secret movie nights at the Lagoon. We also have to give a shout out to our newest neighbor, the Twin Cities Toilet Paper Reviewer. I follow the Twin Cities Toilet Paper Reviewer on Blue Sky, and it is honestly one of the joys of my life to see this reviewer roast different places and celebrate some elite triple ply that's available around town. And if you're wondering what we're talking about, CityCast Neighbors is CityCast's membership program. It's the best way to support us and an easy and rewarding way to engage more deeply with the Twin Cities. And obviously, if a toilet paper reviewer is engaging with us, you got to get on it too. Learn more about it at our website, twincities.citycast.fm. That's all for today here on CityCast Twin Cities. I'm your host, Sean McPherson. Tiffany Bowie, Hans Buetow, thank you for being with us today. Our executive producer is Anna Weigel. Our creative producers are Adam Sage and Tiffany Bowie. Our wonderful audience engagement manager is James Napoli. Post-production this week was done by PJ Shahamat, and our host is me, Sean McPherson. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. Our mailbag music is by our own Adam Sage. You can get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to the CityCast Twin Cities newsletter. If you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with somebody who's not going to yell at you? We'll see you back here Monday for more news from around the city.